Big news for you this week that took us all by surprise, of course. Can you talk about just kind of how that whole fight came together and what your reaction was to the UFC bringing that opportunity to you?
Gosh, there's been about 4 fights that have been set up over the last 3 weeks. There was a couple of opponents they kind of talked about, and then it kind of turned into do you want to do, fight Cyborg at 140? I said, sure, let's do 140. That didn't go through, so then they said Kat Zingano January 28th in Denver. I said, okay, and then that didn't go through. And then they just called. Actually, I was actually just done training, and I've been training like really hard lately, actually. Partly maybe because I know I can, because my hands healed from my last fight, and partly because I just, whatever came, I wanted to be ready for. So I was actually at the gym, and Mr. Winklejohn was on his way out of town, and he had called one of the teammates that always is by his phone, because I'm never by my phone. He's like, Holly, I hate to bug you, I'm out of town, but I know you're never by your phone, but Germaine de Randamie at 145 for the belt, February 11th. I think it's great. What do you think? And I'm like, we know what I think. You think it's good, I think it's good. So that was it.
Nice. Of course, you can't ever turn down a chance for a UFC title opportunity, but I wonder, was there any hesitation knowing that Cyborg wasn't going to be involved in the fight, knowing that there's going to be, the inevitable fallout of a lot of people consider her the #1 contender and find it weird that she's not in this title fight? Did you have any concerns about what the perception would be?
Not at all. Hey, Holly, do you want to fight Germaine de Randamie at 145? Okay, that's as far as I saw it. I do want to take advantage of opportunities that are given to me, and right now I feel like I have everything to prove still. I'm coming off of 2 losses, and I'm ready to get in there and just do whatever it takes, and whether it's at 145 or 135, I'm just ready to try and make a statement again.
I see a lot of people looking down the line already and saying if some way you were to win, some way Ronda was to win, there could be this amazing champion versus champion matchup. There's a lot to happen for that to come together, but is that a scenario that interests you? I mean, do you even start to contemplate that in your head?
I don't think about it because, like you said, there's a lot that has to happen, and that's what I say when people ask me about it. Hey, what do don't you want to rematch Ronda? And I'm like, well, there still has a fight that's taking place December 30th, and there's still a fight that's taking place February 11th. And depending on how both of those go, that could be the make or break of everything. Who knows what will happen in 3 months? Anything can happen in 3 months.
And lastly for me, do you have a prediction for that fight on December 30th?
I don't. I've never done predictions. The only predictions I do are for my teammates because I have full faith in them. If you would ask me about tonight, I would be able to tell you. But, I feel like anybody can win in this game. We're all fighting against the top fighters in the world, and anything can happen, and everybody's just a person, and anybody can be beat. So I don't really put a lot of predictions. I do think that it's going to depend on what Ronda we see, to come back. She's obviously made it. She's been an Olympic athlete. She's been at the top of the women's MMA. She didn't get there without having some kind of a competitive spirit, but she's also had some time off, and a lot of people question a lot of things about it. You never know what's going to happen. It's a wild card.
Kind of to follow up on that, you're talking about, which Ronda shows up. Do you have any insight on which Ronda you think will show up or how she'll react? I mean, you've had to deal with losses before. How do you see that she's dealing with it, and what do you think on how she's acted since the loss?
I feel like everybody deals with the losses different. Maybe time away from her and talking with everybody is what she needs. For me, the way I dealt with it when I've had to come back from it, I'm coming back from it right now. The only thing that's ever helped for me is just to be completely honest with myself, and I figure the sooner I deal with it, the sooner I can get past it. So I'm the type that's just, let's just address this right now. But I do think that coming back from a big loss that I've had some big losses before, and I know that after I've been laid out cold, being knocked out, going back, those first punches in a fight, just kind of like, am I okay? Am I okay? Am I okay? And it's like, yeah, I'm okay. Why am I even asking myself this? I'm okay. Let's go, And I think that that's a make or break moment. Ronda's never been there in a fight before, so I don't think there's really any way to tell how she's going to be in those first exchanges until it happens.
This might seem like a bizarre question, but the whole thing that's happened the last year, it's been the story. When is she going to come back? When is she going to do interviews? All this other stuff, and you're responsible for it. You're the one that started this. So how do you sit back and look? Do you look and say, wow, that was a moment that I changed MMA history, or I guess how do you assess like how this whole year has been for her?
I guess when I look at this year, I think about my year, and I think it's been the worst year for me. 2016 was not successful for me. I don't think about anybody else, actually. When it comes to fights, and yes, it was you know, this November, everybody's putting, out on social media, oh my gosh, it's been a year, congratulations, Holly. And all I'm thinking is, yeah, it's been a year since I've won, So as much as that was a big night for me, I'm ready for my own time to shine again, and I guess I really haven't thought a lot about it.
Do you think that everything, that was such a huge night for you, in the sport, it's such a huge night for you to get that win down there, win the title and everything. And as you said, it's been kind of a tough year. Do you think it was tough maybe for you to deal with everything that happened and everything went on? Did that help lead to some of the losses that you had and, the adversity you had this year?
As far as my like outside distractions, or I know a lot of people will say, oh, maybe fame did it or this or that, the attention on it, but I have to say that bottom line, when it comes down to my last 2 training camps and my last 2 fights, everything that I did, my last fight, I cut the least amount of water weight I've ever cut. I was in the best shape I've ever been. But my focus wasn't there during the fight. So it really had nothing to do with distractions outside of the ring or taking me away from training, because I was ready for the fight. We had the right game plan for the fight. My coaches told me the right things for the fight. I didn't perform the right things in the fight, and that was my mental flaw during the fight. I also don't take anything away from Shevchenko. She's a tough fighter, but if I would have done what I was taught to do, told to do, and what we did in training, it would have been a different night. So it really just came down to the focus that night, and it had nothing to do with anything outside of the fight or during training, because I felt good, I felt healthy, just focus wasn't there.
As far as fighting at 135 versus fighting at 145, what's the difference in your mind?
For me, I could make 145 tomorrow. So I don't really, right now, I think one of the biggest things I'm trying to do is eat for training and eat for just for the right, for training and for health and for, not for diet, not for weight. I don't want to eat bad. I don't want to stay heavier just because I can and then feel sluggish and keep bad weight on. I don't want to just do nothing but powerlifting and be slow and, stiff. I am one of the bigger 135ers, so a lot of people think I could probably, go to the 145, but and everybody looks at my boxing background. You fought at 147 and 154 before. Well, when I fought at 154, I didn't even weigh in at 154. I weighed in at 152 with my clothes on. When I fought at 147, I only had to lose like a pound of water weight, 2 pounds of water weight. I could make 145 tomorrow. I know I'm still a bigger 135. I still feel like I'm strong enough. I still feel like I'm powerful enough for 145, and I know that I'm competitive at 145. I think 135 is definitely more, I'm going to be the smaller 145er, I think, but not too small. I have Germaine's a big 145er. She's an inch taller than me. She's fought at 135 multiple times, though, so I know she's kind of on that same kind of cusp as I am, So we'll see what happens.
In the sense of, if you're going to fight at 145, does that kind of remove an aspect of the training in the sense that there's not going to be pressure on you to make weight, and at the end it's kind of like maybe an easier last week type of thing?
I think it will just be a little less stress. I'm not going to be stressed out every time I step on the scale during training camp every Monday morning. How much did I lose last week? But I have to say, I've never had to like not eat or eat so little that I don't have energy. I've always eaten a lot. If I'm hungry, I eat. Now I just don't have to be so tedious about everything, I guess. But I think I'm going to keep the same schedule I have. I run 5 days a week because it makes it easy to make weight. And if I didn't run 5 days a week, only just because I don't have to, then mentally I feel like then I'd get to the fight and be like, oh my gosh, I didn't do everything that I usually do. Am I really going to be ready? So I'm still going to train just as hard. I'm still going to run just as much. I'm still going to do just as much cardio on top of my actual training. So it'll just be an easy weight cut, and that's all there is to it.
So Cyborg says she would fight you in March for the belt. And now, like a personal opinion, would you be willing, if you could, would you be willing to wait for her and make this big fight happen in March?
I'm going to keep this fight with Germaine. I feel like, and I've said this a lot before, I don't ever want my career to be defined around one fighter or one. I mean, that's the big talk. Everybody asked me about the Cyborg talk, and before the big talk was the big Ronda talk. Still Ronda. People ask about the rematch. There's more fighters than Ronda and Germaine. So, Ronda and Cyborg. I'm focused on Germaine because that's who I have a contract with right now. And I wouldn't want to cancel that fight to wait for another fight that wasn't set up already. I guess I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket. You know, it's like the names that everybody talked about that actually beat me weren't always the biggest questions. But those are the tougher fights for me. So I guess it just depends. You know, I want to make the most of what opportunities come to me. And my next opportunity is Germaine, and that's all that's in my mind. I don't like to think really too much past it.